Merry Christmas. Certainly it is for you right now as you are watching this, and I hope everybody's having a fantastic holiday. As I sit here right now, obviously it's a little bit late in the evening, just kind of sitting back next to the tree, enjoying some of the Christmas spirit, and looking back on our 2018 season. It was a good season. We did catch a lot of fish, we had a lot of fun, spent some time with some great friends, but overall, certainly after being spoiled in 2017, 2018 was a very difficult season. It really did kick off right away. We're just going to jump right in here. The weather was cold. January, February really got us into a deep freeze, lots of snow. So really the only thing we could do, luckily, locally this time, instead of having to travel, was a little bit of ice fishing. And we started our season off with a little bit of hard water chasing of some panfish, some perch, and the film that you were able to see that we were able to put together was a short little video about ice fishing for smelt, something I hadn't done in a long time. And I took Goldie out and got him his first smelt, and we really enjoyed that. It was a lot of fun. Of course, him being somewhat bonkers, wearing shorts. It was cold. It was like -10 that day, and even though he had his boots on, wearing shorts, ice fishing, he's not normal. It's not normal. But it was a lot of fun. We got some fish. It was really enjoyable. And that's how our season kicked off. Cold, slow, not full of excitement, but we were catching. And that's what mattered. That's what the goal was just to make sure we had a season full of catching. And as we progress through this, we'll talk about how some of those sessions really didn't pan out that way. I've got my notes here that I kind of jotted everything down as I went through our YouTube channel, some of the old footage that we have, even some of the videos that we did but didn't actually release. And after that ice fishing season kind of wrapped up, which really wasn't very long for us, the kind of late winter, early spring, we weren't getting out very often at all, and when we were blanking. It was tough. We did a lot of early season carp sessions, having been spoiled in 2017 where we were able to successfully complete the 12 months of carp. It definitely didn't want that to happen this year. With the way the weather moved in, our carp spots froze over, so even the spots that would normally be open water and have active carp, even if it was only 1 or 2 fish a day, we had no access. It was shut right down. The Niagara River was full of ice and drifting debris. We couldn't fish trout. We were really limited on options. So if we were able to get out, a lot of times it was, well, we've got 5 or 6 hours to go fishing, but the weather has kind of done us in, or the water conditions have gone way too high, or there's, like I said, too much ice. We just couldn't fish around it. So we kind of got into February where we started chasing in the carp scene, kind of a few spots here and there, and they weren't going well. March started to get a little bit better. We did pick off a few fish in March, but again, we weren't really doing any filming at that point. We kind of made the decision early on that we were going to do some videos through the year and try and make sure we kept it up quite regularly, but that wasn't going to be the focus. We had done so much with the 12 months of carp, and then what subsequently became the quest for Carpopotamus that we filmed in the latter half of 2017, that we just needed a break. We had the cameras out constantly. We didn't really get to enjoy the just calm social atmosphere with our friends. So we started getting out with Kevin. Demir hadn't quite joined in at this early in the season, but we were getting out. Clint came along for a few. We were having some fun, but because we didn't have any videos that we were putting together, it seemed perfect to release the quest for Carpopotamus this season. And we did all of the episodes, the whole series that we put together this spring, that kind of helped buy us some time. Figure out what we were going to film, how we were going to kind of put this season together while keeping it relaxed and giving us that break that we needed. And I have to say, I was quite happy with how Carpopotamus came together.
Tell me when we're ready and I'll take a crack at it. Tell me when you're ready, I guess after the train and whatnot.
Yeah.
Shut up! I'm trying to freaking do stuff. So enjoy the quest for Carbopotamus. It was kind of lame, wasn't it? What do you think? I want to do, maybe one or two more.
It was our opportunity to chase a target fish, something that it's not really possible here in Canada. We fish wild fish in wild waters. What could be right in front of you today could be kilometers down the river system or lake system tomorrow. You may never see it again. So it was really enjoyable to put that out and kind of watch it unfold as people viewed it. And yeah, I think it was well enough received that I was happy to have done it, and it was a lot of fun. Stressful, very stressful to put that together, but it was a lot of fun, and it was enjoyable to get that out there and give us that 6 or 7 weeks or 8 weeks to just enjoy our fishing with the crew. So after the Carbopotamus episodes wrapped up, we really needed to put a few things out there, and we really weren't sure what we were going to target. We knew we wanted to chase a lot of carp this year and focus kind of heavily on that while kind of putting the multi-species stuff more towards the end of the season. But again, it was slow. Because of the way the winter dragged on, it just didn't make it easy. It was very difficult finding fish. When we did finally find fish, the sessions were very difficult, where one day we would be there would be fish everywhere, and we wouldn't be able to get a bite, or we'd get one fish. But right in that kind of early transition time, we'll say, right before it really kicked off, there was one particular afternoon that it was rainy, it was snowy, it was cold, it was wet, and it was kind of the end of March, early April, if I remember right. And believe it or not, my 7-year-old son decided that we had to go fishing. He wanted to go to the spot that we call Skull Island. It's a spot that's just covered in zebra mussel shells and fish skulls that wash up on the beach there. So he calls it Skull Island, and it's a favorite spot of ours in the spring. But he wanted to get out fishing. And I wasn't about to pass up that opportunity, because sometimes it's like pulling teeth, taking my 7-year-old out and getting him pried away from his technology, his tablet and his video games and such. So Goldie and I packed everything up in the van, and my son hopped in his seat, and we drove down to Skull Island, and we put our lines out. Zane fishing close, Goldie and I fishing out further, kind of trying to reach where we could see showing fish, which was well beyond what we could cast. But we were fishing, we were out there to enjoy it, and funny enough, Zane was actually the only one to have gotten a bite. The video that we posted of the young angler getting his PB, that's my son getting his 16-pounder. An amazing fish. He did wonderful. Very first time that he actually landed a big fish on his own. A little bit of help from me at first, but once I let go of that rod at the back and he really had the full control of it, he did a great job. And that video kind of set a tone for us that, even though it might be a struggle this season, we were going to make sure that we had fun. But that wasn't the first PB that came about this year. Yeah, it was kind of spread out through the season, but there was a few PBs that actually got crushed this year. Zane's obviously at 16 pounds for that carp. We had Jan and Cor and Hilbert come over for a visit. Cor and Hilbert coming over from Holland, Jan coming up from southern Ontario. And we all got together in our neck of the woods this time for our annual get-together. Normally we travel down, to where Jan lives, and we do our fishing there. It's always fun. The social atmosphere with those guys is amazing. They're really, really great people, genuinely good, quality people who love their fishing, and it was just great to spend time on the bank with them. However, now I don't know if this is Jan's PB or not, but he did have a really big rud. It was probably 3 or 4 pounds. It was a really good sized fish, if I remember right. But that was the only fish to come out of that spot, I think, that whole day. Luckily, we were able to get a carp on the bank with those guys when we moved to our winter spot, which actually had the ice push out on us. So we had some open water to fish in. Of course, that was the evening that I almost had my head taken off by a goose as it flew over me. But a great time and wonderful time to be able to spend with those guys. But yeah, that was another PB, I believe. Jan will correct me, I'm sure, once he sees this, but I'm pretty sure that was the biggest rod you've had, buddy. As we kind of pushed forward, we weren't really getting much in the way of videos done. We were really focusing on spending time, you know, fishing with the guys, having that social atmosphere, as I keep saying. But that's what it was all about. That's what we wanted to do. We wanted to make sure that we continued that fun. You know, in the spring, Kevin and I did hit our local creek, literally just down the road from us. We had another difficult session, just out of nowhere. It was blazing hot. He did get a fish, and we missed a few. We could see fish in front of us, and it just wasn't working. A spot that we normally bag up on and do really well in the spring was just shut down to us, and it was a surprise. It kind of hit us pretty hard. We did get a video out of that. It was one of those sessions that we just kind of look back on as it was nice to get out, but we could have done better. Kind of gets us through April, so to speak. You know, it was really our prep work, fishing kind of down by the lake, along the river, a few spots here and there as we got ready for the Fishing Canada Carp Cup for this year. In 2017, the first big carp tournament here in Ontario was the Shimano Canada Carp Cup, which we actually were able to put a video together and release it at the end of 2017. A great time and a fantastic tournament. We were so happy to have placed where we did. Demir and I really worked hard at that one, and you know, it was just great to spend all that time with those anglers on the bank. Having spent all of April pretty much just socializing and refining tactics, trying new rigs, trying new baits, really trying to put together a game plan for what would be the big tournament. Going into that, a few live updates that we did, which actually were quite productive with Kevin. But really it was just kind of a when we could get out, a few hours here, a few hours there. So with Fishing Canada now taking over the Canada Carp Cup this year, we knew it was going to be bigger. We knew that there was going to be a little bit more at stake as far as kind of the prize setup goes. And also, they were going to be filming the whole thing for their TV series, Fishing Canada on television. We knew that we had to step up our game. So pretty much the end of April and beginning of May were spent away from the bank. You know, we were kind of in the basement, putting things together, getting orders in of different tackle that we were going to need from Monster Carp Tackle. A lot of it was just planning and strategy. A lot of time spent on the computer looking at the water conditions over the last few years, looking at maps, trying to plan distances with the swims, things like that. So we didn't do a whole lot of fishing, but what we did was focused on, okay, is this going to work? Is this going to work? I got my first fish on a zig, believe it or not, about a 24-inch zig. And that gave me some confidence to try some more new things. But come the end of May, Fishing Canada Carp Cup, we were lucky enough that there was 3 teams from here in the Niagara region that went up to this tournament. There was Demir and I, as usual. Goldie and Kevin teamed up, and they made a great pairing. And Dave and Clint, who you've also seen with our channel, they teamed up as a pair, Dave having won his spot through the radio program Outdoor Journal. So all 3 teams, the 6 of us, were super stoked because we all fished together, we all practiced together getting ready for these tournaments, and it was just awesome that we knew how each other worked. So we knew that some of our strategies could be bounced back and forth. You know, even though we were going to be spread out and really competing against one another, we knew that if certain strategies were working for one, they may work for the other, and we kept in contact throughout the whole tournament to be able to chat back and forth and see how each other were doing. And you know what? We all placed quite respectably. Believe it or not, we all finished with our 4 fish limit. You know, it was the biggest 4, and you know, even though Kevin and Goldie finished a little bit lower in the standings, they were the last team to produce a 4 fish bag. So we were very proud of them. They fished very hard. Clint and Dave having moved quite up the standings a bit right at the last minute with the last few fish they had to just pass Demir and I. And yeah, we all did really good. We were really happy. It was a great time. And then having seen those episodes on television after they finally aired just about a month ago, it was amazing to kind of relive that moment, because we didn't film this year. Actually, Demir and I didn't even take any pictures, believe it or not. Our focus was solely on the fishing. So to be able to watch that and see everybody and what a great time they had and how well it was put together, it was just fantastic. It was a great time, and Demir actually got his PB mirror at that particular event. It was on my rod, but I was indisposed, so he had no choice but to take the rod at that particular moment when that run went, and you know, he did a great job bringing that in. It was a beautiful 13-pounder, a very gorgeous mirror carp. Why I was indisposed is a whole other story. It's funny, but a whole other story that we'll not get into now. So after the Fishing Canada Carp Cup, you know, we're kind of right at the last weekend of May, and that first week of June, which is normally a really hot bite time around here in the Niagara region. Pretty much anywhere we go, we should be able to hit some really good carp, or big numbers of smaller ones, whether it be right on the Niagara River, which is, you know, a few blocks away from me, down in the creeks, down in Lake Ontario, any number of spots, the Welland River. These are all spots that really produce well during that kind of 2 to 3 week time frame as May transitions to June. It wasn't the case this year. Again, very difficult. That late winter kind of pushing into spring, it just set everything back. The weed growth was not where it needed to be. A spot nearby that Kevin and I feed quite heavily throughout the year to keep the fish moving in there, even if we only do 1 or 2 sessions, we want to make sure the fish are there, and it helps keep the weed growth down. Well, at this point, there wasn't a speck of weed. It was, you could still see leaf litter from the year before, when we went out scouting it with, we took the boat out and went over that spot, and there was nothing to be seen. I think I caught a bass by accident, just running a jig through, seeing if there was any walleye, and yeah, I think Kevin saw 1 carp swim by as we put a bucket of bait down. It was just barren. There was nothing. So it was really strange. But despite that, we wanted to keep the fishing going, and during an after work session, we only had I think 2 or 3 hours. Goldie and I went to a spot that we wanted to try out and we wanted to start in this spring, that we were going to put a lot of effort into this year, and hopefully put together a nice film or a nice series as we tackled this new spot. The problem that we ran into is that with no weed growth, kind of murky water that particular day, as we stood there looking around for showing fish, we didn't even see a bubble. So it was, do we waste the few hours we have fishing a spot that we know nothing about, or do we wait and come back with the marker floats, maybe a depth sounder, and actually look around and check the spots out first when we have more time? Or do we go to a spot where we can actually have a chance at a quick bite? So Goldie made the smart decision, a decision that really needed to be made, that we move to a spot that can produce. So we went to our secret spot. That new spot was to be put on hold for the time being until we can invest more time into scouting it out, properly checking the depths, learning fish patterns just by even being there watching with a coffee every now and then. Until we knew more about that spot, we didn't want to waste any of our time since it was so limited in the spring. So we went to the secret spot, and it started out quite slow. It also started out very windy. I had the Brawley set up, and it just kind of shifted out of nowhere, and the wind was actually going right into the Brawley and was starting to lift it up, so I turned it. And you know, we were fishing our normal tactics, just pop-ups lobbed out onto the drop-off. So I turned the Brawley, and I was actually laying down on the ground sheet alongside the pod, you know, right across the front of the Brawley. And I had a really aggressive whack, and the bobbin jumped up, and then it dropped down, and then it jumped up again. So I was excited I had a bite. I was not prepared for what happened when I set into that fish and proceeded to have probably the hardest fight with any fish that I've ever had. It just blew our minds. This is where my new PB comes in, crushing my old one by almost 10 pounds. A 42-pound 9-ounce beautiful beast of a bullheaded common. The head on this fish was huge. The girth was amazing. It wasn't incredibly long, or it didn't seem that way because it was just so deep, but it was such a big fish. I'd never seen a fish that big in person before. it just blew my mind, and I was ecstatic. I was through the roof. Heart was racing. I was just going crazy. But I managed to get a 40. I joined the 40s club, and after probably what seemed like almost an hour on the phone with Demir and Will and Jan, and just talking to all the guys about what just happened, I finally put my line back out, and Goldie had one at this point, and then I think I proceeded to have like 3 more fish, but they were all like under 10 pounds. It was just weird that this fluke came in where this 42 pounder just swam by, picked up my pop-up, and set my season into motion of, okay, maybe I'm going to have another good year for big fish. That wasn't the case. So with that being right at the beginning of June, we really didn't know what the rest of the season was going to produce. Everything was still slow, but we were enjoying our social outings, not taking the camera out as much. But one thing that we did have planned, that coffee's good. We wanted to do an overnight session in the whirlpool. Now, you can fish for a lot of different things in the Niagara Whirlpool. There's a lot of different species of fish, a lot of which really get active at night. But it is a dangerous place to be at night, especially if you're very, let's say, not used to fishing down there at all. You can't just show up and fish through the night. It's dangerous. I don't recommend it. Putting your time down there, I can't stress that enough. And no matter how many videos we do about that place, I can't stress enough, be safe down there. Get set up and get ready for the water levels to drop, because they do drop at night. It's something to be mindful of. It can be very dangerous, so if you're going to fish here in the future, please come down during the day, get used to it, fish with some experienced anglers first, and then once you've put some time in down here, you'll get an idea to how some of the patterns are. But even then, you should always be at the ready. The patterns do change unpredictably. So we didn't know when we were going to get to do this session, but we knew we wanted to do an overnight carp session in the whirlpool. Now, I think we put it off a little bit. I think it was something that got pushed down into kind of the end of July or beginning of August. But because we were focusing more on the fun aspect and the social aspect of the fishing, the videos weren't really on the forefront of what our hearts were set at for this season. So we kept them going, like I said, to keep the regular uploads happening, a little quick clip here and there. But the real focus was, okay, we need to make this whirlpool session happen. So after several weeks of trying to put our schedules together, Goldie and I were able to team up with Dave and get our butts down there on a day that it was good for the fishing, but holy, it was hot. It was so hot. We probably spent the better part of 40 minutes just getting in there because we had to keep stopping because the humidity in the woods going through the gorge down into that trail was so bad you just couldn't breathe. And we're carrying our gear down there. We had more gear than we really needed because there was supposed to be a heavy thunderstorm that came in that night, which never did. But we had to have all the gear we needed to be prepared, right? The tarps and the brolly and stuff like that to put the cameras under. It was a disaster trying to get in there. But once we were set up, we were quite happy with the video and the way it came out. We really did well. We had a number of fish throughout the night and into the early hours of the morning once day broke, and it was a tremendous time. It was also a chance for us to see one of the kind of other layers of the onion, as we put it when we refer to Dave, because man, I have never seen that boy giggle so much. He had a lot of fun, as did we, but it just seems like every time we fish with Dave we learn more about him. It was so much fun, and it was one of those things where, okay, we can tick that off the list now. It was going really well, and we were really happy to have put that together and get that out there, and a lot of people seem to have really enjoyed that video as well. So now we're kind of almost all the way through summer, and we're starting to realize that we really haven't done much as far as videos go, and we really weren't thinking we were going to push it to do more as the season progressed, and we would focus that more for 2019. So we continued with our social sessions, getting the guys together, fishing with Kevin in the secret spot, swim 2 and the other swims there, fishing with Dave and Demir as much as we could. You know, it wasn't a lot, but we got out as much as we could, and really enjoyed the time on the water together. At this point, though, we were really wanting to do a little bit of exploring before the peak of the season really kind of pushed out, because we knew that we wanted to hit our big fish spots as fall approached. So we wanted to try some new areas, since the traditional areas just weren't producing the way they had in previous years. So this is where the new Park Lake kind of idea came about. It was a spot that we've all fished for, you know, panfish or pike or bass or things like that. I've even ice fished it in years back in my younger days. And it was a spot that always produced fish, and I knew there was carp there, but we didn't know what quality to expect. We didn't know what kind of numbers to expect. So Goldie and I actually went down there and did a little bit of pan fishing one night after work, just casting little jigs around. And don't we start seeing carp feeding on the rocks literally inches from the bank. And after missing a couple, I was able to actually put a fully scaled mirror on the bank, landing it with my little 5-foot ultralight rod on a little 1-inch tube jig that I would use for sunfish and crappies. It was amazing. It was a beast of a fish. It was just over 10 pounds. The net that we had with us wasn't big enough for that fish. It was a net really designed for, you know, fish that maybe go up to a pound or two at the absolute most. So that really sparked our interest in this Park Lake. It's much bigger. There's a lot more that happens there. It's right in the heart of the city that it's in. So it's a very urban environment. You got joggers, you got dog walkers, you've got just casual people moving through from point A to point B, cyclists. There's everything there. So there's always something going on. And here we were, a bunch of, you know, rugged old carpers kind of set up on the bank, looking really out of place. But man, that first session there, our new venue Old Tactics video that we did, it kicked off. And that spot really sparked a new interest that we really want to attack it well next year. And to get Goldie's mirror out of there, wow, that was another amazing mirror carp. So now for Demir and Goldie and I, we've all got our mirrors for this year. You know, it's one of those things where, okay, we did well on mirrors in 2017. You know, 3 mirrors for our group in 2018 is not bad, you know, with them being so rare here. What is 2019 going to bring? I'm hoping that we see a lot more of those beautiful scaly buggers. So yeah, that spot was really doing well. We tried other spots around it, and funny enough, it turns out that Clint was actually testing the area out as well, unbeknownst to us, from different angles. So our whole crew was kind of attacking this in a different way, and it produced fish. Sometimes it was really difficult, sometimes it was really easy, but it never let us down. We were always able to find some fish somewhere and learn something new about the spot. So we're very excited to do more exploring with that area. On top of that, an area that I've been scouting for a few years now is something that we are going to attack again in 2019. It's our gravel pit. There is a gravel pit we want to go to that we know is going to be a challenge, but you can stay tuned. That's going to be something special when we get around to doing that project. So pretty much as we got into the fall, kind of the end of summer, beginning of fall, we did get another visit from Jan. We brought him up this way again to fish our spots in the warmer weather. Now, a little bit of history as I fish with Jan over the last few years. He is notorious for outfishing me. Not just outfishing me, but really giving me a royal spanking. Like, we fish together and he will crush it, and I won't even get it so much as a bite in most cases over the last few years. Now in 2017, when we did our September edition of the 12 Months of Carp, we went down his way, and for the first time I caught. I was ecstatic. I actually had 3 really gorgeous fish from his spot, a spot that I had never even had a bite before, having fished it multiple times. Of course, in typical Jan fashion, again with the spanking, he crushed me. I think he had 5 or 6 fish to my 3. But you know what, he's a good angler, and he really did kind of show me what that spot can do when it's on. and I was really happy that he was able to put us on fish and get those the 20 I needed for September that season. So fast forward to this September, I think it was beginning of September, maybe even Labor Day weekend. Jan came up and I put him on my big fish spot. He got up in the evening as I was already set up in the spot, and believe it or not, I was actually playing a fish as he walked in. So we thought we were on. We thought it was going to be amazing through the night. We were going to do the whole night and then fish the whole next day, possibly covering just that spot or a few spots depending on how the fishing went. So funny enough, as we set up the bed chairs, we decided, oh, you know what, it's going to be gorgeous weather out. We don't even need the bivvy set up. Just slept under the stars that night, and we really didn't sleep well at all. Mosquitoes were horrendous, and I don't get bit by mosquitoes. They don't bother me. I was getting destroyed. Jan was getting destroyed. But worse than that, we were set up perfectly on the spots, the right baits, the right amount of feed out, and we had indications all night long that the fish were there. Liners steady. We did not get a single take through the darkness. Not a single bite through the night. And that kind of shut me down. A spot that has always done well for us at night. A spot that is known to us to produce not only numbers of fish, but also big fish. Completely shut us down. And I felt horrible because I had gotten them all the way up here to fish the spot and really hyped it up, and we were blanking. The one fish the night before, and that was it. Now, luckily in the morning, the bites did start coming, but they came to me. They didn't come to my guest. I actually managed a couple of really good fish. There was I think a 25, a couple of high doubles, and a couple of smaller ones. So it was great to have gotten fish. I think I had 5 or 6 that morning. But even when we swapped the rods out and put his line on my spot, used the exact same rigs, a spot that I normally don't fish, you know, off to the left in really deep water where we don't normally get bites, I moved there, put him on the hot spot so that he would catch, and then my rod went off. So it was just one of those scenarios where we can't explain why, but I produced the bites there that morning. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to. So we decided at that point, okay, well, Goldie's going to be showing up in a short time with my son. Let's take him to a spot that we know we can get him a fish. So we went down to another local spot that we really enjoy. Took my son along. So we all had lines in. Jan was able to get a fish. It wasn't the monster that I had promised him, but he was able to save the session and avoid the blank. I managed, I think, 2 or 3 fish there. I don't believe Goldie got any that particular day, but my son managed another fish. I was very proud of him. Jan helped him with that one, netted it for him, helped him hold it. It was great. Another great time on the bank with Jan. But that pretty much wrapped up our summer. Our summer really ended at that stage. And again, having not put much effort into the videos, we really didn't have anything in our kind of video bank to kind of put together and release. We had a few projects that we had shot, but we weren't ready to attack them. You know, there was certain difficulties with audio, multiple cameras that we had used where we were having issues trying to tie it all together and get the timelines right. So these are videos that, as I mentioned, we have done. We just haven't released them yet, and you know, we'll see them in 2019 as kind of filler videos in between other things that we're doing. But yeah, this wrapped up our summer, and now we're into fall, and we got nothing to show you. You know, it was great up until this point, but we realized that we just didn't have the videos to be putting out there. Now, what saved us is the videos from our contributors, and there's a specific reason why we have contributors. Early on, when I wanted to get this channel started back a number of years ago, it really came from the ideas that I had back in high school, where I wanted to build a network of friends that would get together and make videos, and then we could put them all together. Originally, the idea being, you know, each person would have their own segment in each episode. But as it became apparent, as I was learning that YouTube really wasn't a place for fishing shows, it was more a place for fishing blogs, or vlogs, as some are calling them. You know, it really showed me that, you know, those short videos or even the longer videos that have kind of a theme going through them were better than just simply making a half-hour episode each time. You know, it was nice to have the variety of anything from like 2 or 3 minutes. I think some of our videos go up as high as 2 hours. So it was nice to have that variety in there, and that opened it up for a number of different things, but not really that concrete formula or format that the traditional fishing show followed. Now, growing up, I watched all the fishing shows. If it was on TV, I watched it. You know, Canadian Sport Fishing, Fishing Canada, Reel Fishing, Fishful Thinking. My number one favorite, though, you know, even though I could go on and on with all the different shows, Bill Dance Outdoors and Roland Martin, all those guys, my number one that stood out from me as a kid all the way into adulthood, and even though the same people are making a different show at this stage, the show was In Fisherman, and that one really stood out for me. It was a network of people. It was brilliance in my mind growing up, and the way a fishing show should be put together, where you had these segments that covered different topics, but they were all done by different people as well. So they had these themes that went through them, but you had all these contributors that made their own sections. And I wanted to do that with this channel from the get-go, but I knew that, you know, I really wouldn't have friends on board with that until I could show them that we could establish this as a channel that people actually wanted to see. And once we were able to get the opportunity, it was great to have Will come on board and start doing what we call our Will-O-Vision videos, a segment and a section that is his own. He can do videos that he wants to do, and we put them through the channel under that banner. Well, we wanted to make sure that we could get more going, because, you know, sometimes people just fish better on their own, or they're more comfortable in front of the camera on their own. And we wanted to make sure that as we went along, we continued to build it in the right way, for the right reasons, not just for the sake of filling it with content, but that we were showing each of those anglers in their elements. You know, with Goldie doing Goldie's Fishing Adventures as well, again, it's him kind of learning to be in that element and learning about fishing, since he is still a new angler. As good as he is now, he is still a new angler, and he, you know, there's a lot of things that he's trying to figure out. So Goldie's Fishing Adventures has this underlying theme of, you know, being the newbie, and this is how it's going to be put together. You know, Will being a somewhat seasoned angler, and knowing how to catch fish from a number of different locations in a number of different ways, you can kind of see him in his element. You know, myself, you know, when I do the videos by myself, or, you know, just out with the guys, you kind of see a different theme going on there with the way I do things, and we kind of liked that variety coming into play. One thing we're really happy about is that Dave was able to start putting together his own content, with what we call Dave's Vlog, something that we really enjoy. And actually, when he started giving us that content, you know, he had pitched in with footage on some of the other videos in the past, and we kept telling him, you know what, just do a video for us that we can just put right up on the channel. You know, he already takes care of other channels, you know, the Monster Carp Tackle channel, the Raven Tackle channel. The guy can fish, and the guy can fish in front of a camera, but we wanted to see more of him and his personality, you know, the onion layers, as we call it. He's just a well-rounded angler and has that different perspective to show, and we wanted to show it. So with him starting to produce some content, it was great to see, because the stuff he was bringing in was fantastic, and it's always fun to fish with Dave, but then to see him in his element, doing things his way, was even more enjoyable. So with Will and Dave, you know, Clint chimes in with us every now and then, coming in on the Angler Files. While he has his own channel, you know, it's always nice to have him in there with us as well. And we didn't fish with him a lot through the season, a little bit in the spring and a little bit this fall, as we've started to jump into our winter sessions, which is a whole other series of videos that you're actually going to see coming out very soon. It's one of those things where, you know, he doesn't need a segment on our channel. He's got his own channel. We just wish he would put out more content. Remember, Clint, put out more content. I'm telling you now. Another one we didn't see a whole lot of in 2018 was Demir. You know, our great friend. We talk to him all the time on the phone. We fish with him whenever we can, but unfortunately schedules don't always line up for it to work that way. So we didn't see a lot of him in the videos this year, but he was there, just so you know. he was on the bank and he did get out and get some fish. He was also lucky enough to make a trip, we'll say abroad, not too far, still within Canada, but he made a trip out with some other friends, and he was able to get his new PB. Actually, he was able to break the 30 barrier. I think he had two or three fish over 30 pounds, but his new one being his PB just over 32 pounds. Amazing fish, really nice looking fish, and he had a great time in really difficult conditions, but he did the job. He's in the 30s club now. Way to go. Now we just need to get Demir to do his own videos. I don't know if that's going to happen, but he's certainly going to be in more of ours in 2019. So yeah, thanks to those guys, Will and Dave. They pretty much covered our fall for us, making sure that we got some videos out. They did a lot of great work, and I really enjoyed the videos that they put together. So now we're obviously in December. The last actual fishing video we put out, you would have seen as the last 36. The way Will ended his season, he came down to visit with us, and we had a great weekend. A lot of fishing. Not as many fish as we would have hoped, but a lot of fun. We pretty much spent our days fishing and our nights sitting here watching Monty Python. That kind of got to us a little bit. That was a little bit much, but you know, Monty Python always goes down a little bit easier when you have a lot of beers going down as well. And we did find out it doesn't actually take that much to make Will quiet. So yeah, I did say that, Will. It turns out that only a few beers actually change your mood completely. You go into mellow mode. Quite amusing. So now everybody else knows that, so everybody else knows, oh hey, Will won't stop talking, here's some beer. But yeah, that's pretty much where our season wrapped up. We have done a live stream since that visit, which was a lot of fun, kind of in response to another viewer's comments that had been made. That live stream, I won't talk about it. If you want to see it, you can go watch it. It's the video right before this one. Just remember that what you see there is going to be burned into your mind forever. And we really hope that 2019 is not only great for us and we can put some great videos out there, but we hope everybody has a fantastic 2019 season.
And now for something completely different.
Snape, Severus Snape, Dumbledore. Ron Weasley. Okay, anyway.
Now it's gonna get stuck in my head again.
Goldie, I was just about to start.
I know you were.
Oh, okay. Doing this again, are we? Well, I don't know if the witching hour is upon us, or if our one opportunity died with John. But I can't complain. This last 36 hours was very rewarding. I shared some great laughs with some great friends. Much better than blanking alone. I got 3 gorgeous fish. And once again, it all came down to location. The first spot just wasn't doing it for me. But I was so confident in that rig, and I took that rig to 2 different locations, and it produced those fish. I feel like I want to start that over again.
It's good because he laughed.
He's laughing to burn his trip.
Okay.
I wasn't laughing at you, I'll
come into the screen. Well, I'm not entirely sure if the witching hour is upon us, or if our only opportunity of the day died with John.
Not dead yet.
I'll go for a walk. I'm not dead yet. Oh. Oh, that's beautiful.
Bring me a shrubbery!
Oh, you guys. All right.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have a few outtakes.
All right, you recording it there, Goldie?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I don't know if the witching hour is about to be upon us.
You said that wrong. It's the third take. Come on, you should have this right by now.
Enough, you. Okay. Oh, no other nights here. So I don't know if we are entering the witching hour, or if perhaps our only opportunity today died with John at this location. Can you piss any louder there, ogre? Fucking hell. You can just hear pissing. Like, it's so loud.
Oh god!
Take 4. Okay, come back in. This is gonna be awesome for the outtakes. God, it was like I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. Oh, you guys got the giggles on me. Oh man, that's brilliant. All right, you let me know, Goldie.
Hold on, I have to change your exposure again.
Oh, that was funny as
Okay.
Well, I don't know if this is the witching hour that we are entering into now, or if our only opportunity for today here died with John. Guys! Huh? You did good! Goldie can't, he's got the giggles now.
I did tell you that you would change your words.
Okay, you want me to change it up?
You're gonna say something different.
Our only opportunity fell short with John. How's that?
Or passed us by or something like that. Yeah.
Okay, our only opportunity.
I'm not sure.
I have to go for a walk. Oh, you're not fooling anyone.
All I could hear is I
See you next
felt his
Thursday.
eyes over on my ear, and I'm like, oh,
You looking at me.
can't do it.
You looking at me. Okay, here we go. Come on now. What's this? Take number 5, 6? 6.
6.
You never have this much trouble.
It's not my fault, it's yours. You're all crazy. There's bubbles right there, I think, isn't there? On that flat underneath that tree. Maybe it's just a wave light. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. Maybe I'm just pulling at straws here. Okay. Well, I don't know if we are now entering into the witching hour, or if our only opportunity of the day was that unfortunate drop on John's line. It was such a melting take. We were so convinced, and when John picked it up, there was just nothing there. And unfortunately, these fish are notorious for that in this location. But regardless of the fact, 36 hours, my last 36 hours, spending it down here with good friends, having some good laughs, and trust me, when you see the blooper reel,
Wow. You did that one all on your own.
oh, it's because you guys have got me all up. I did that so good too. I was so good there. Okay. Yeah, okay, I'll start from right here. Ready? 3, 2, 1, stop. John, you're in my frame.
No, he isn't.
Oh, is he not? Wow, okay.
Your big is blocking him out.
Perfect. Well, I don't know if we're now entering the witching hour, or whether our only opportunity at this spot today fell short to that blistering take that John had, and he struck into nothing. Apparently the fish are quite notorious around here for pulling such things. But regardless of that, I chose to come here for my last 36 hours, not only because of the fact that the fish were still biting down here and that my home waters were just not doing it for me and the lack of consistency. I really wanted to end this year off on a high note. And I feel that with those 3 fish that I managed, that has most certainly done it. And I think the fantastic laughs that were shared, trust me, when you see the blooper reel, you'll understand. I feel that because of the fact that I didn't sit and blank on my own. You know, I didn't sit somewhere and just fester on the fact that I couldn't seem to pull that fish. I think that's definitely what made this weekend totally worth it. And I want to thank the Anglophiles. I want to thank John and Goldie, obviously, for their incredible hard work, keeping these spots baited and keeping the faith. These guys fish all year round. I have not known a crazier pair than these two fishing in February. In March, when it's like freezing cold. There's like 2 feet of ice on the Bay of Quinte up in Peterborough. They find some open water, they're fishing it. Unbelievable. I have not known a more dedicated pair of anglers, and it's why I run in parallel with these lads. I hope that you enjoyed this episode as much as we all enjoyed bringing it to you. I think we'll put the camera away for now, but if something special happens, if we get graced with that last fish, we'll be sure to share that with you. But until next time, tight lines and best of luck for 2019. Bubbles over my spot. Did you see those? Just over here, about maybe a rod's length away, 4 or 5 bubbles came right up on the spot. Almost where Goldie's basin is. There's bubbles over there. Is that a bubble? Or no, it's something that came up. But there was something, I saw 2 or 3 good little pops come up there. How was that, Goldie? Good. Yeah, you like that?
Yep.
I'm not dead yet. I'm not dead yet! That's gonna be great for the blooper reel. How many other bloopers do we have? Goldie friggin' flubbing up on the fucking rig talk.
You know what? Once you go through the footage, if there's enough to make a short 5-minute blooper video, after this video goes live.
No, put it right at the end as the credits are rolling or whatever. You guys can just do a little quick credit thing where you thank everybody. I thank everybody for my season. You thank everybody for your season. We make this like the season ender, but you're gonna be fishing in December, so I guess
That
crazy.
It'd be if we do a short little outtake video.
It'll be like a quick
of
clip.
just that, a quick clip, and then you do tags like Monty Python and stuff like that. It'll get some traction.
Yeah, that's funny.
The joke that's in it, right?
Or if our only opportunity of the day died with John, I'm not dead yet.
Would that be considered a shrubbery?
Can you pee any louder there, ogre?
Would that be considered a shrubbery?
A shrubbery. I am a shrubber. I go by the name of John the Shrubber.